That's why I made a commitment to residents to work as hard as possible to make our city safer, more reliable, and more affordable. For the past 3 years, we've taken a strong, balanced approach to our city budgets. Nous répondons à la crise d'abordabilité que vivent nos résidents en maintenant les hausses d'impôts aussi basses que possible. We've been respecting the affordability crisis facing our residents by keeping tax increases as low as possible. In fact, lower than any other major city in Canada. And we've been investing in our priorities, including public transit, public safety, affordable housing, and more. Nous avons investi dans nos priorités, notamment le transport en commun, la sécurité publique, le logement abordable, et plus encore. Working together, we've made a lot of progress since 2022. But we're also facing new challenges. No one could have imagined in 2022 what we'd be dealing with in 2025. Tariffs and threats on Canadian sovereignty, economic uncertainty, the prospect of significant cuts to the federal public service. That's why, even more than in the past 3 years, we need to bring a careful, balanced approach to the next budget. Nous devons adopter une approche prudente et équilibrée pour le prochain budget. We must continue to protect our residents from inflation and rising costs by keeping tax increases as low as possible. And we must continue to invest in our priorities to make Ottawa safer, more reliable, and more affordable for everyone. Despite all the pressures, threats, and risks that we are facing, the 2026 city budget will do that. We're able to do that because we've managed our city into a strong financial position. Since I became mayor, I've worked with my council colleagues and with senior staff to find savings and efficiencies in the budget, just like families across the city are doing every day in order to make ends meet. Au cours des 3 dernières années, nous avons réalisé 207 millions de dollars en économie. Over the past 3 years, we found $207 million in savings. That's the equivalent of a 10% tax increase we did not impose on taxpayers. For the average household, that's $415 in savings on your tax bill. We have also worked very closely with the provincial and federal governments to secure significant investments in our city. 18 months ago, Premier Doug Ford announced the New Deal for Ottawa, an investment of more than $535 million in our city. That money has already been deployed in important areas, including public safety, road projects in rural areas, and revitalization of the downtown core and Byward Market. Leading up to the provincial election earlier this year, I made the case that Ottawa deserved to be treated like other municipalities in Ontario. La campagne Équité pour Ottawa a mené à une promesse du Premier ministre Ford de prendre en charge le train léger d'Ottawa. The Fairness for Ottawa campaign led to a promise from Premier Ford to upload Ottawa's light rail system, which has the potential to save our city billions and billions of dollars in the coming years. That money will all be reinvested in public transit to build a system that is safer and better and more reliable for our residents. I'm grateful to Premier Ford and his team for their investments and their commitments to Ottawa. In January of this year, the federal government announced $180 million in transit funding for Ottawa. And since the new government was elected, I've had important conversations with Prime Minister Carney and several members of his cabinet and local MPs, and they have committed to working with us to address our city's challenges, including revitalizing downtown and the Byward Market, improving public transit, and building more affordable homes in Ottawa. I look forward to advancing these discussions in the coming weeks and months. Just as I did in 2022, I hear regularly from residents about their concerns. They continue to be worried about rising costs. They want more reliable services such as public transit, and they want to ensure their city is safe. In a time of rising costs and economic uncertainty, Our residents and business owners need a budget that brings a balanced approach, investing in what matters most while keeping life affordable. En cette période de hausse des coûts et d'incertitude économique, nos résidents et nos entrepreneurs ont besoin d'un budget équilibré qui investit dans ce qui compte le plus tout en maintenant la vie abordable. Today, we released the Budget Directions Report, and once again, we are committing to keeping taxes as low as possible while investing in safety and reliability. The Budget Directions Report includes an increase of up to 2.9% for most city operations and programs. La direction du budget prévoit une augmentation jusqu'à 2,9% pour la plupart des opérations et programmes municipaux. I'll be honest, this will not be an easy process. It will take a lot of work to get there. The report also commits to investing significantly in priority areas, particularly in two critical areas that must be more properly funded: public transit and public safety. We're facing a huge structural deficit in our long-range financial plan for transit. The upload of light rail will help significantly, but it won't cover the entire gap. So, as we did last year, we must continue to invest in public transit. Nous devons continuer à investir dans le transport en commun. This report includes a range of options to increase funding for public transit to record levels. In the coming weeks, we'll discuss where we'll land on various levers, including increases to transit fares and the transit levy. Public transit is vitally important to our community and to our economy. Earlier this year, we successfully launched Lines 2 and 4 of light rail, and in the coming months, we'll open the eastern extension of Line 1 to Orleans, another huge milestone for transit. We're also continuing to purchase more electric buses to make our transit service greener and more reliable. Nous continuons à prolonger le train léger vers de plus en plus de communautés et nous lancerons plus tard cette année le prolongement vers l'Est pour nos résidents d'Orléans. These improvements cost money, so another boost in transit funding is required. I've also heard from residents that one of their greatest priorities is public safety. Over the past few years, we've been hiring hundreds of new paramedics, firefighters, and police officers. The number of level 0 events where there isn't a single ambulance available in our city has dropped by 80% this year. We still have more work to do, but that is significant progress. We also opened a new police station to serve the Byward Market, and the police have been dealing with a significantly increased number of protests and demonstrations. The demands on emergency services in our city have never been higher. Our residents have been asking for better and more effective policing. They want to see more officers patrolling our streets. They want faster response times. They want to feel safe in their community. Ils souhaitent des temps de réponse plus rapides et ils veulent se sentir en sécurité dans leur communauté. I'm very grateful to Police Chief Eric Stubbs, who's been doing an outstanding job over the past 3 years, listening to the community and adapting our police service to its changing needs. Based on community feedback, the police are moving toward a district policing model that will increase service in every part of the city. We need to support these important changes by investing further in policing and public safety. The Budget Directions Report includes a recommendation of a police budget increase of up to 6.5% to accommodate the transition to the district model and the implementation of the staff stabilization plan to ensure we have enough resources to serve the community. That means hiring more police officers. It represents the largest increase in the police budget in more than 15 years. Il s'agit de la plus forte augmentation de budget de la police depuis plus de 15 ans. But it comes at a time when it's needed in order to serve our community. So we will be making important investments to sustain both public transit and public safety. But despite those investments, we will continue to have among the lowest tax increases of any major city in Canada. Other cities like Toronto and Vancouver have seen increases of 7, 8, 9, or even 10% over the past few years, while our average tax increase has been just over 2.9%. The budget direction calls for an overall tax increase including the investments in transit and policing of no more than 3.75% for 2026. That's lower than last year's increase, and it maintains my commitment to respect the rising costs our residents are facing. C'est moins que l'augmentation de l'année dernière, et cela me permet de respecter l'engagement que j'ai fait à nos résidents. The Finance Department has been working very, very hard on the 2026 budget, almost since the day the 2025 budget was approved. And there's still a lot of very difficult work ahead. Over the course of the next 2 days, I will be visiting every single ward in the city, all 24 of them. Every summer since 2022, I've done a tour of all the wards, 24 wards in 48 hours, to check in with residents and hear their concerns and their priorities. I'm looking forward to hearing their input in the next few days as we continue the budget process. As I said, it won't be easy to hit these targets, but we owe it to our residents to do everything possible to achieve this important balance between investing in what matters most and keeping life affordable. Nous devons tout faire pour atteindre cet équilibre important entre investir dans ce qui compte le plus et maintenir le coût de la vie abordable pour nos résidents. There are a lot of needs and pressures, but we will continue to do the heavy lifting to find savings and efficiencies. Nous continuerons à collaborer avec les gouvernements provincial et fédéral pour trouver des solutions. We will continue to work with the provincial and federal governments to find solutions, including more investment and a better and fairer deal for our city. We must deliver a budget of this nature because that is what our residents and business owners expect us to do. There are seniors on fixed incomes, families struggling to make ends meet, small business owners dealing with economic uncertainty. Ils comptent sur nous pour présenter un budget solide et équilibré. They are counting on us to deliver a strong and balanced budget, a budget that prioritizes public transit and public safety, a budget that doesn't add big tax increases to the burden they are already facing. We can't let them down. I won't let them down. Aujourd'hui, je renouvelle la promesse que j'ai faite en 2022. Je travaillerai chaque jour pour rendre notre ville plus sécuritaire, plus fiable et plus abordable pour tous. Today, I'm renewing the promise I made in 2022. I will work hard every day to make our city safer, more reliable, and more affordable for everyone. Thank you. Merci.
Thank you. I'll now invite each agency in alphabetical order to ask questions. You may ask one question with one follow-up. Par ordre alphabétique, j'invite maintenant chaque organisme à poser une question et une question de suivi. We'll now start with, nous allons commencer avec Arthur White-Crummy at CBC Ottawa.
Hi, Arthur.
Good to see you. So I want to go a bit more into the policing element of this. So we're holding city services to 2.9%, but the police levy could go up to 6.5%. I'm wondering, I know that you're saying safety is a big priority for people, but we have so many challenges as a city. Why do we have to direct so much more of the increase into policing than into other city services, where we're essentially just holding the line from what we did last year?
Well, we're increasing the budget overall in all areas, so there's no area that's being frozen. I've heard over and over from residents that they want to see more and better policing and more public safety. The police board has adopted a district policing model that will require more officers to be deployed throughout the community, so we don't end up with a situation where, because of, for example, a demonstration downtown, that there are no officers available to serve other parts of the community. That district policing model is what the residents expect from us, and so we have to invest in it. We're also, we know that the police have been under-resourced for some time. They have a staff stabilization plan that will increase the number of officers who are available to serve the community, and we need to support that plan. So this is a time when we need to invest in public safety, invest in policing, and I think that's what our residents expect of us.
And just a quick sort of clarification before I go to my follow-up. You said biggest boost in 15 years, right, for police?
Yeah, I don't know if there was, I don't know when the last time was that there was an increase of this nature, but my understanding is that for the past 15 years, the police budget has increased at the same level as other departments, and this year it'll be higher than that.
Okay. And then for transit, it seems like we're going to be looking at a potential increase to the transit levy again as one of the options that could be more than the 2.9%. So if that happens, could that conceivably push taxes even higher than the 3.75% cap? Would you have to look for efficiencies or cuts elsewhere in order to balance that out if we did have to increase the transit levy?
No, the budget direction stipulates that the overall tax increase, including everything, including any increase in the transit levy, any increase in the police budget, any increase in any other department, will be limited to 3.75%. So last year, we were able to achieve an 8% increase in the transit levy while keeping the tax increase overall to 3.9%. This year, we'll keep the overall tax increase to 3.75%.
So then what happens if you increase the transit levy by more than 2.9 or 3.75%? Like what? You'd have to find that money somewhere, right?
Yeah, so again, last year, we had an 8% increase in the transit levy and an overall budget increase of 3.9%. This year, we'll have an increase of 3.75%, including whatever increase we agree to on the transit levy.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. On va maintenant à Clémence Labasse avec le droit.
Bonjour.
Bonjour. J'aimerais juste avoir votre réaction aux commentaires du Premier ministre Doug Ford par rapport au retour des fonctionnaires, notamment fonctionnaires municipaux, à la ville. Il y a eu des nombres qui sont sortis sur le fait que beaucoup d'employés d'Ottawa étaient déjà au bureau,
Oui.
mais voulez-vous avoir une réaction plus descriptive, plus complète?
Alors, comme vous avez dit, la plupart des employés de la ville d'Ottawa travaillent en place. Alors, c'est à peu près 85% qui sont au bureau ou au centre communautaire, aux piscines, dans les services qu'ils donnent à la communauté en place. Alors, pour le 15%, nous sommes en train de faire des recherches pour déterminer ce qu'on peut faire à l'avenir. C'est important d'être aux mêmes places que la communauté, que les autres employeurs. Alors, quand il y a des changements comme la décision du gouvernement provincial, nous regardons ces changements avec beaucoup d'intérêt et nous espérons avoir un système pour nos employés similaire à le marché. Alors, on verra.
Donc, est-ce que vous visez un retour au travail, au bureau de... Est-ce que vous avez un objectif en tête de 100%, 99%?
Pas encore. Alors, j'ai dit souvent que si les employés sont au bureau pour le gouvernement fédéral, pour les employeurs privés, c'est mieux pour l'économie, c'est mieux pour les entreprises au centre-ville. C'est une décision très importante, c'est significatif pour les employés, mais nous sommes en train de déterminer ce qui est possible parce que notre objectif, c'est d'être aux mêmes places que le marché. Alors, s'il y a des changements avec les autres employeurs, nous regardons ces changements avec beaucoup d'intérêt et après ça, nous prenons des décisions.
Merci,
Merci.
beaucoup. We will now go to Aidan Helmer at the Ottawa Citizen.
Hi, Eden.
Mr. Mayor. Getting back to transit, the new ways to bus and some of the revamped bus routes, some of the cancellations of the school routes, for instance, have proven to be a little bit unpopular in some areas of the city. Just wondering how you can sort of sell this increase in fares and if the revenue generated there might prompt a revisit to some of those, reinstating some of those school routes in particular.
Let's remember where we stand with public transit in Ottawa. The long-range financial plan for public transit identified a gap of between $8 billion and $9 billion in the funding for public transit. That's an enormous number. Public transit is vitally important for our city, vitally important for our residents, vitally important for our economy, so we have to invest in public transit. But having a service, having a premium service or having an ideal service is not achievable in an environment where we've got a huge gap in funding and when passenger levels are down from before the pandemic. So we're doing everything we can to close that gap. Last year we had an 8% increase in the transit levy. We're looking at an additional increase in the transit levy in this year's budget. We have to consider all the revenue options and invest as much money as we can in public transit to close that gap so we can deliver the service that residents want. So that's what we're doing. New ways to bus, whenever there are changes to OC Transpo, there's always going to be a reaction. I've seen that my whole life. I remember, when I was a teenager, taking the bus to school every day, the schedules would change, the routes would change, and all my friends would react to that, and the bus that normally picks me up, it's 2 blocks away now, and it comes at a different time, and there's always a reaction and an adjustment. And we've seen that every time there's been a recalibration of the routes, but that work has to continue. And when there is evidence that, for example, maybe a route was cut back and there's more demand than we anticipated, we can make adjustments going forward. And the team at OC Transpo is very attuned to that.
I just wanted to ask about the Byward market as well. Premier Ford had some strong words about the state of the area with the bicentennial coming up for Bytown next year and for the market the year after. Can you talk a bit about the revitalization efforts and what money might be going towards that?
There are some really positive things happening in the Byward market, and we still have a lot of work to do. Over the course of the last week when I've been at the Association of Municipalities of Ontario conference here in Ottawa, I heard over and over again from visitors from outside the city, mayors of other cities, councillors, staff, that they were really impressed at how much the Byward market had improved since they were here at the same conference last year. So there's been an improvement, and the numbers show that. The number of visitors to the Byward market is up 50% this year over last year. That's an enormous improvement. There are investments being made in new restaurants, new businesses in the Byward market. There are people who are choosing to open in the Byward market and are very excited about it. We have other things that are coming, like History Ottawa, the new performing arts space, the concert hall in the former Chapters site. So lots of good things are happening, but we still have some work to do. We need to continue to work closely with our partners, with the Byward Market District Authority, with businesses and residents in the area, with the Ottawa Police Service, with community agencies, to address some of the challenges that we're facing, and we're going to continue to do that and continue to invest in the Byward market.
Thank you. On va maintenant à Anaïs Desjardins avec Radio-Canada.
Bonjour.
Bonjour. Vous mentionnez justement que les taxes foncières vont être maintenues à 2,9 %. Pour les taxes municipales, en général, on parle de 3,75 %. Pourtant, vous voulez miser davantage sur la sécurité. Comment ça va avoir un effet sur les services en général si on n'augmente pas les taxes puis on mise davantage sur le transport et la sécurité?
Pour les autres services?
Exact.
Oui. Alors, ce n'est pas le budget, c'est la direction pour le budget. L'équipe à l'Hôtel de Ville, le personnel le département de finances va travailler sur le budget pendant les semaines à l'avenir et nous voyons un budget, un plan pour 2026 dans les mois suivants. Alors, ce n'est pas le budget aujourd'hui, c'est la direction pour le budget, c'est les conditions dans lesquelles le budget sera développé. Alors, on verra les détails. Mais il y a plus d'argent pour tous les services. Nous ne coupons pas les services dont les résidents comptent. Nous continuons à investir dans les services pour les résidents d'Ottawa.
Également, cette année, la Ville doit recevoir aucun financement provincial pour la construction de nouvelles habitations. C'est en raison du fait que vous n'ayez pas atteint la cible de 80 % de ce que vous émettez comme objectif. C'est quoi comment vous percevez ce que vous allez faire pour les logements dans l'année à venir alors que ça fait un peu partie des problématiques qu'on voit au niveau de la sécurité, le fait qu'il y ait une hausse dans l'itinérance, puis également dans la crise de toxicomanie, qui sont liées intimement aux problèmes de logement dans la région.
Alors, nous continuons à investir dans les logements abordables avec nos partenaires. Aussi, il y avait des bonnes nouvelles hier. J'ai entendu que les commencements des logements, housing starts, je ne sais pas le mot en français, mais qu'ils sont à 65 plus haut que 2024 en même temps. Alors, il y a des nouveaux logements qui sont en train d'être battus. J'ai écouté aussi que le ministre des Logements et des Affaires municipaux pour la province de l'Ontario, Rob Flack, a dit que peut-être les fonds qui dépensent sur les chiffres de chaque ville, peut-être il y a une meilleure façon de donner l'argent à toutes les villes partout en Ontario. Alors, je suis prêt à travailler avec Rob Flack, avec le gouvernement provincial pour trouver des solutions pour les résidents d'Ottawa. Je pense qu'à l'avenir proche, peut-être, il y aura des changements sur ce programme.
Merci beaucoup. On va maintenant à Anne-Sophie Gagné à Radio-Canada, le téléjournal.
Bonjour.
Bonjour. J'aimerais avoir votre réponse en français concernant les propos du premier ministre Doug Ford concernant la sécurité dans le centre-ville, dans le marché bail notamment. Donc, comment vous réagissez à ça, du fait qu'on dit que la situation est désastreuse?
Nous avons travaillé très fort pendant les 3 années jusqu'à maintenant pour améliorer la situation au marché bail. Et nous avons eu beaucoup de progrès. J'ai entendu souvent pendant la conférence des municipalités dans l'Ontario cette semaine, ici à Ottawa, j'ai entendu souvent que les visiteurs à Ottawa, les autres maires, les conseillers et conseillères, qu'ils ont vu beaucoup de changements dans le marché bail, beaucoup de changements positifs pendant l'année passée. Alors, il y a beaucoup d'investissements dans le marché bail par les restaurants, par les autres entreprises. Alors, il y a une avenir très vibrante pour le marché bail. Nous continuerons à investir. Nous avons beaucoup de travail à faire. Ce n'est pas le travail, ce n'est pas complet. Mais nous continuerons à investir dans le marché bail et nous avons entendu que le nombre de visiteurs au marché bail, c'est 50% plus haut cette année que l'année passée. Alors, il y a beaucoup de progrès et nous continuons.
Mm-hmm. Concernant les transports en commun, on sait que c'est des prévisions là, concernant le budget, mais pour les gens qui utilisent le transport en commun, ça va être quoi les impacts directement donc, de cette hausse de taxes dans les services?
Alors, nous continuons à investir dans le transport en commun. Nous n'avons jamais investi aussi que des fonds que cette année. Alors, chaque année, c'est un autre niveau d'investissement dans le transport en commun parce que c'est une priorité très importante pour les résidents d'Ottawa et pour moi. Alors, nous avons un déficit dans le plan long terme pour le transport en commun et c'est important d'augmenter les investissements pour fermer ce déficit. Alors, nous continuons à investir dans le service. Et nous avons beaucoup de changements à l'avenir, comme la prolongation vers l'est à Orléans de ligne 1 du train léger. Nous avons déjà lancé le service pour ligne 2 et ligne 4 à l'aéroport et au sud d'Ottawa. Alors, il y a des améliorations et nous continuons à investir dans le transport en commun.
Et justement, concernant le déficit, bon, l'année dernière, on parlait d'un 120 millions. On en est où exactement aujourd'hui dans les transports?
Je ne sais pas encore parce que ça, c'est seulement la direction pour le budget. On verra quand le budget sera introduit à l'avenir.
Merci.
Merci.
Merci. That concludes today's media availability. Ceci conclut le point de presse d'aujourd'hui. Thank you. Merci.
Merci beaucoup.